Hello everyone, this is the last feedback lesson that I'm going to film for you guys this year. Today we're going to do feedback on photosynthesis assessment. So you have done an assessment on Monday and our team, the science team, has been working super hard to make sure that we're giving you feedback on time. So I would like to start with what is very, very well done in our assessment. Actually, I think we have done really well in the assessment. Again, I will try to message you, every single one of you, your marks in private. So I'm not going to disclose all the marks over here. So first of all, we are very clear about the importance of the raw materials of photosynthesis. I think all of us know a lot about the leaves, the cells, what do they do, and then we know what the guard cells are. We know that photosynthesis, we need the sunlight, we need the carbon dioxide, we need the water, so that's all sorted. Number two, most of us are able to label parts of the plants and know their functions. Again, we're really good at that. EBIs. So I would like us to learn again the variables of the experiment. You know, our class go the extreme. Some of us are really good at it, and some of us are not very good at it at all. And then we need to understand that photosynthesis and respiration do not happen independently. So I think that some of us believe in the daytime it's only photosynthesis, and then in the nighttime it's only respiration. And again, that is not the case. Number three, we also need to understand the effects of dehydration of plants. So how does it look like? A lot of us just tell me, oh, when you dehydrate, it dies. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Plants do have a mechanism to deal with droughts, so it takes a while for them to run out of their water storage, and then after running out of water storage, then they will die. Now it's a shout out to the high achievers in this assessment. Xavier, Alexia, Kashmita, and Elijah, well done. I think Elijah was also on the list before, so really well done to Elijah. And of course, really well done to Xavier and Alexia and Kashmita, because they are the consistent people who have been working super hard throughout the lockdown. Okay, EBI, the first one. We want to learn again the variables. Some of us are not very good at it, but many of us, some of us are very good at it, but many of us are not. So let's go through the points together. So I put all of them on the slide is because you can pause the video now and write down the information if you want to. So independent variable is a variable that is changed during a scientific experiment. A dependent variable, the variable being tested or measured during a scientific experiment. Controlled variables, a variable that is kept the same during a scientific experiment. I just want to emphasize that usually in any scientific experiments, you would have more than one controlled variables, because to keep it a fair test is not that easy. You will have to be very careful in the conditions of the experiment so that you can have a fair comparison. Now, let's have a look at this picture here. I've been showing you too many words. Let's have a look at the picture. So, I would like you to think about this now. This is a plant. You can see that plants of the same species are here. The one on the left, it received 0 drops of fertilizers. The second to the left receives 2 drops of fertilizer. The third one receives 4 drops of fertilizer. The sixth one receives 6 drops of fertilizer. They receive water. They receive sunlight. I would like you to think about this now. What is this experiment trying to show? I do believe that most of us are able to tell me it is trying to show if the fertilizers actually make a difference on the growth of the plants. Okay, now we've got that already, the purpose, the objective of doing the experiment. Now I would like you to think about this. What is the control variable here? Because that's easy. You can easily list 3 things that are control variables. Okay, let's see if you've got the answer. Right, the first one is the species and the shape of the plants, so you can see the exact same plants. The next one, they all receive the same amount of sunlight. You can see all of them has got the same amount of sunlight over there. And the last one is the amount of water they receive. You can see 4, 4, 4, and 4. So you have sorted out all the control variables. Now I would like you to think about this. I'm going to pause again. I would like you to think about what is the dependent variable and what is the independent variable here. Independent variable is the one that you change. The dependent variable is the one that you measure. So I'm going to pause now. Okay, I think I need to give the answers. I don't want to get too long in the video. So the first one, the dependent variable, is you want to measure how much the plants have grown. So you want to measure the height now or the weight now and then compare it with the weight 2 months later or 3 months later. And the independent variable, the one that you change, is how many drops of fertilizer did the plants receive. So you can deliberately change how many drops of fertilizer. You can do 0, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you have complete control over what you would like to change. So this is the concept of independent, the dependent, and the control variables. Please, if you're not very sure, go back to this slide. You can pause the video here again and read the text again and make sure you understand how to identify them in an experiment. The problem with these variables is that every experiment will have different variables, and you want to be very careful. These are the rules. You remember the rules and use these rules to identify in an experiment what are the dependent, the independent, and the control variables, because we will not tell you in the exam. You will be asked about these questions. Okay, let's move on to the next EBA. Of course, if you want to listen to that again, rewind and listen again. Next one. Okay, EBA 2. We need to understand that photosynthesis and respiration do not happen independently. So you can see this is a very clear picture. You know the plant is not realistic. I know it looks like a little person, but anyways, now if you look at the one in the daytime, because of the sunlight, it provides the energy for photosynthesis. Of course, it would have photosynthesis. You see there are two texts here, because the rate, the speed of photosynthesis is really high. Therefore, we have more photosynthesis in the daytime compared to respiration. So in the daytime, respiration still takes place. If not, again, if the respiration doesn't take place, the plant will die. And if the plant is dead, it can't do any photosynthesis. So respiration happens all the time, 24/7. And at the night time, obviously, you have the respiration process always going on, because that's the indication of you being alive and the plant being alive. And the photosynthesis there, it has a cross next to it, because there is not enough light. There is not enough light for photosynthesis to take place. So it will happen again when the sun comes out. Please do not think that respiration will stop during daytime. Respiration happens all the time, but photosynthesis doesn't happen all the time. It depends on how much light, how much carbon dioxide, how much water the plant is given. This is a quick one. Next one. So the third one is we need to understand the effect of dehydration of plants. So you can see in the picture here, we've got a very unhappy plant on the left, and is a little bit unhappy plant on the right, but is happier than the one on the left. So the leaves become like heavy. They look heavy, they lose the support, and they're pointing downwards. This is a sign of a plant being dehydrated. So this is when they lose too much water and they don't have enough water in the soil that they can absorb to replenish that loss of water. So a lot of people in the assessment just say, oh, when the plant loses too much water and if the stomata remains open or remains closed for the whole time, there is no transpiration, the plant will die. But this is not true, because a lot of plants, they have a good resistance towards water loss and droughts. So what happens is they have a mechanism to deal with that internally. So it will take them quite a lot of time, probably 1 or 2 weeks, before they completely dry out and then they die. So we're not talking about the point that they are dead already. So we're talking about the period that they are losing water but not getting enough. This is a point I would like you to remember. Plants do not die straight away, because if the plant dies straight away, there wouldn't be any cactuses. Okay, there wouldn't be any desert plants out there. There are desert plants with big leaves as well, but they have a very good mechanism of dealing with the lack of lack of rainfall over the dry season. So they do not die straight away. They wither first. So they show signs that they're unhappy first. They just point downwards, they look unhappy, they lose the support, the leaves looks heavy and point downwards, and you know that straight away I need to water this plant because this plant is not going to make it if you don't water it now. So there is a period of time before they die. That's the main point. So I've gone through the 3 EBIs, and I hope that you find this useful. There are some questions in the Google form. I would like you to complete those questions. If you click view your scores or view your submission at the end, you can see your own answers and you can mark it against a mark scheme. So year 8, it has been a pleasure. Just to let you know, I believe that I will see you all as a tutor again for 9U next year. So just a bit of a heads up from me. Have a good summer.